Ladies and gentlemen, moving to the next session. The next session we have filmmaker from Nepal, Naresh Kumar KC. Today evening we are going to screen Nepalese feature film Dying Candle, and Naresh Kumar, the director of the film from Nepal, has joined us.
So thing.
Absolutely fine. It's going very well, and there are filmmakers from across South Asian countries who have joined us for the festival. How are you doing in Nepal right now? You are in Kathmandu or where?
No, I'm in Kathmandu.
Okay, fine. We'll have a discussion. So I wanted to know this film Dying Candle. When did you conceive the idea, and when did you start working, and what was the reason behind conceiving this film?
Actually, it was a very bizarre way to start. So I was studying at the USC in LA when the idea struck to me. I mean, there was a particular film classes, and I was part of those classes where the originality was something that we need to bring in. And because, Western countries have so many, this Veterans Day, Father's Day, like Mother's Day, like we do have too. But then we had one special day like Rakhi or, Tihar in Nepal, which they don't have actually. So they don't have the day where they celebrate the siblinghood. So somehow it struck to me, why don't we make it? I mean, like we need to, actually get it across that we actually celebrate a very special day regarding the siblinghood. Then the idea started to, shape up, and I was reading a couple of novels back then, Nepalese novels, and there was one particular called Jatiya Ko Parda, that means torn curtain. So it was a play basically. I mean, the characters were from there. The sister or the brother's character was inspired from that. I mean, like it's a whole different character ultimately in the film, but then the inspiration was that. And so yeah, that's how it started. And actually, very strange thing, the whole screenplay was completed within 3 days. It's very
really?
bizarre. Yeah,
just 3 days.
Just 3 days. I was applying for Sundance Film Festival then, and then the deadline was within 3 days. And
pages?
Yeah,
how many pages?
It was 110 pages something back then.
Really?
Yeah. Somewhere
you wrote 100 more than 100 pages in 3 days.
And sometimes it becomes compulsion, because I was in USC, I was in library. It was 24-hour library. I hadn't gone to my place because I wasn't being able to pay the rent as well. So I was in library for 24 hours, like 3 days continuous. So, and I was writing this, and I had this Sundance, and I had a huge hopes. Obviously, when you're going through rough phases of your life, then all you have is hope. And I was expecting maybe if Sundance or Nicholas Fellowship or Tribeca Film Festival, any festival would allow me to, development budget or some sort of grant to take it further. That's how, just 3 days away to apply. So I had to write 33 pages in one day. And I did the same, in fact. I didn't look back. I didn't think of the plot or characters. I just kept on going because I had to at least finish something to make it able to apply theoretically. And then it was applied, and then I came to Nepal in the summer break, and we had friends, Bimal, who was very keen to produce. He was just back from NST, from theaters. And then it happened. It's strange.
So how much time it took you from conceiving to writing the script and then getting funded?
No, I mean, the writing wasn't a tough job. I mean, rewriting was there, of course. Rewriting was not like we were changing the entire plot or we were doing anything else. So rewriting was just like shaping up, just polishing here and there, and then visiting the locations. And then originally the story, the first draft of the script was, the caste system, right? So it was moderately based on the basic caste, like Chetri. And when we visited to the location like that, Gatlang, it's a way to close to Chinese border in Nepal. So that village has that, touch of rural context. I can believe that, people have to struggle to buy the sleeper or the cord of the sleeper. So that was the location, and it really inspired me. And then we changed the ethnicity of the characters. Okay, let's make them Mongolian. Let's make them, who can shoot that geography. So those are the basic minor changes, or like it could be major changes when we look into the bigger perspective. But then those are the changes we do within the next 2 months when I came to Nepal. But actually, from the writing to script to finishing the production was somewhere between 4 months or 5 months. That's it.
Just 4 5 months. Okay.
Yeah. Funding was not a huge thing because like we were not intending to make a big short film. We're just planning the film with the DSLR or with our own crew, tiny budget, just like independent thing. But then later on, we happen to have a great cameras and then a decent team available. Yeah, because it was a extremely rural location. We had to travel. We have to carry the logistics. We had to carry those G bombs, Johnny Jeeps, uh, and then there were landslides in 3 places on the way. So it has to be like the bus stops at one point, and we have to walk 2 or 3 kilometers. Then there is another bus which returns the same way. Then it was very bizarre way to plan that shoot. I mean, like if I was now planning that film, I may not have been able to do it, or like none of my crew would have been, because it's that Junoon thing that made it happen, and thankfully it happened.
This is your debut film, feature film, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So before this, what kind of works you did, and since when you were thinking of doing a feature film?
Mm-hmm. No, I was intending to do a feature film like way back in 2007 and 8. I was doing ADs to Nepalese feature films. There was films called Samo Sansar, which is like a popular Nepalese film mainstream. Then there was a film Six City. So I was doing AD, and then I was doing my bachelor's in filmmaking here in Nepal. Then right after my bachelor's, I went to LA for my master's, and my whole intention was to come back in those summer break, like 4 months. I thought like maybe 4 months would be quite enough to produce like a indie film, like a whole friends go out and do a film like a Blair Witch Project or something like that, just go and do it. And that was the idea. But this particular film happened because I couldn't continue my studies because I couldn't pay my tuition for my next semester, and I had to come back. I had to leave US,
Okay.
and I was feeling so devastated because all of my friends were graduating, and I was the one who wasn't graduating at that time. And I thought like, what next for me, because I'm not studying next semester. I can't pay my tuition because I had like $19,000 due from my last semester. So maybe I need to do something, if not study. Then this film happened, and then we planned the budget, and then somehow it happened. I mean, like shooting happened, but then right after production we couldn't complete the post production because we had a whole bunch of dues to the post production, the rentals, and I think we almost stuck for 1.5 years. The whole footage was in a like rental company. They didn't give us the footage back, which I totally understand. And then I went back to US, then came back. We got the footage. We started editing. Then went to US, came back. It did the sound. So that's the
Really?
process. Yeah, it was like 3 years. It was really frustrating, and it's hard to make a first feature film, especially in Nepal, where you see the kind of movies, the
Yes,
mainstream
I've
Nepal,
seen.
at most like the Bollywood film. So if you have songs, you have pretty girls or like good looking guys, and you have those dramas, melodramas that goes along the way. And if you have one or
Right.
two decent songs, then it's easy to find the financials or produce it. But then when it comes to, I was pitching a lot of producers, mainstream film producers back then, very popular ones, and they liked my idea. They appreciated that I studied and came back, and I was a graduate from Nepal itself, which was the only film college in Nepal. And they appreciated it. But then when it comes to I was narrating the story, and then they were already put up like brother and sister. No, let's forget it. We're not doing it. So yeah, it was a tough one.
So it's a very intense drama when we see the film. I wanted to ask Srijana also if she had come. What kind of workshops and preparations you did for the script, for the preparation of the shoot?
Absolutely, she did an amazing job, and our casting director, especially Bimal, which was one of the producers as well. So he was just from NSD, and then he was starting his own theater. So we had his whole theater in Nepal called Theater Village, where we used to meet it every day, and there was this characterization. And Susan actually went to that village, Gatlang. So she was from a basically suburban part of Nepal, but then she has never, been in that arena of life where she was close to that, making of alcohol, or like, what do you say, cow shedding and all the stuff. She actually started doing that in that village. She was, early morning, she used to go and then, try to feed cows and get intimate, so that, while shooting, it gets at least some sort of sense of connection with the livestock as well, so it doesn't look like out of the context. And while doing the film, she went to the location. We went with a 5G or something to test shoot the film. And when we were doing the test shoot, we came back and saw like she was just like, she didn't look like she was from that village.
Really?
No,
Wow.
because like, when she was passing through a crowd with a bunch of, haystacks on her head, and there was all those villagers on the way, and there was small festivals going on, and anybody can see the frame and see, okay, she looks out of the place, because her emotion, her walk, or like her features, her skin tone, her dress, it just stands out. And it seems like we're shooting film, of course, that's what we're doing. But then we later on discovered, okay, the problem was like her costume, because the most of the time the costumes look out of space, despite we tried hard. So what we did, what she did especially, was like she borrowed a costume from someone who was wearing it
Mm.
like regularly, so that it has that dirt in it, and she wore it, and then we did this test shoot, and it looked more natural. Then our costume department went to that person, and then they bought that costume so that we can keep it for continuity. So that's how the costume got. And then she did with her hair, and then her makeup. So actually we had to put ashes on her, the forehead. And then because most of the time she spends time in the kitchen itself, which was a wooden kitchen, like fire thing. So she had that a little bit of that dusty touch to her face and the hair, which I think she had to pay back for a long time, because she was saying like she got itching problem on her head for a long time after that. But that's the process she went through, and I'm really glad she did it.
Yes. And what kind of instructions you gave to create her character? Because it's a very intense character. So how did you prepare her mind for the character?
No, I asked her to read that play, Chatiya Kupataton Curtain, just for the premise. Then I asked her to certainly for that love drama part with that proletariat character, her lover, let's say, who is weak and vulnerable, but at the same time he loves too much. But at the in climax he has to let her go, because he doesn't own something, because the whole idea was about the firm was equally about finance and capitalism. At the same time it was about brother and sister. Owning something, owning money is like owning a whole bunch of things at this stage of life, contemporary context. So for that I asked her to read that Anton Chekhov's Love Love Love, and O. Henry's loosely based on O. Henry's that Gift of
Yes,
Mary.
exactly.
And she read those, and then she went to the location. And then she had two brothers herself. So somehow it became easy for her to connect, and she wasn't married at the time, and she was for Nepalese standards, she was in an age where she was supposed to get married.
Oh,
So maybe, yeah, those are the contexts she brought in. But obviously, she's an actor from theater. She's very popular in theater. She works in Mandala theater. That's like the best theater we have in Nepal.
okay.
And so she brought in a lot of her side of character touch and persona in the film.
Yeah. Because
I regret not naming the film Chemi.
uh, actually, we see that the filmmaker, you have been inspired from the works of Chekhov, because it's visible in the film which you have created, the kind of narration, the kind of
Yeah.
treatment you have given. So it completely shows that you have been inspired from people like Chekhov. Uh, And I also see that it has some very excellent cinematography as well, uh, to create the character, create the mood. So what kind of instructions and discussion you had with your cinematographer, DOP?
Yeah. So DOP, it was his first film, Dipankar Shikdar. He was from FTII. So while we were planning the film, and then we had Ravina Acharya, who is also a producer, and then co-DOP of the film, and we were going through some visual imagery, the references, some couple of frames, color tone, and then we got in touch with Dipankar, who just graduated from FTI. Then he came on board. He came to Nepal, and we had a series of discussions regarding the composition. We went to the location because it has to have that claustrophobic ambience, because it was the 80% of the film was shot within one space itself, and it was not a moving set. It was like practically static space where we had to accommodate ourselves and lights and actors, and if we have dollies we had to accommodate that. So it was a not an easy task itself, but then at the same time we have to come up with some original framing idea so that it doesn't look like redundant. And then people get frustrated. Okay, what the heck, we're seeing the same background, same stuff, same moments. So I don't think there is too much of redundancy within the camera work itself, apart from the performances and the plot. So that thing happened especially when Dipankar came on board, and obviously we had Robin, who was already into it for 2 or 3 months earlier, and Dipankar came on board, and then we had this location visit, and then camera test, and then all the blockings done beforehand. So one thing that I did personally that not many film schools would suggest is like uh, every film school would suggest to go with the short list, have the proper shooting script, your camera setups.
Yes.
And the privilege I had was like we were shooting in that particular one location, and then we had this 30 to 35 days contract with each and every cast and crew, and I was quite sure we don't need that much of time. So there was this particular one shot where there's a brother and brother sister is hugging the brother, and that's the poster shot of the film, and the lights entering from the roof. That one shot, I think we shot it for 3 days, and that the third day was its final take. So we had that luxury. Yeah, so we had that luxury because I wasn't under pressure to take the shot because we were running out of time. So I felt like we have enough time, we can wrap it up within 30 days, less than 30 days. And there was one John Jeep shot which took like 60 take or something, because our monitor was cracked by then, so we had to just figure out, okay, we might have shot this and come back and watch it and then redo it. So we did it whole day, we did one shot.
Okay.
So but it was the persistence of the DOP and then the focus puller, ultimately it was more of a technical shot. Those were technical shots rather than the performance oriented. So somehow it was their conviction that it made it happen, and Dipankar has a huge role in it.
The film has traveled across many international film festivals, and it has got critical acclaims at many places. So, but I see what is the commercial prospect of such cinema? What was your any commercial returns you could generate for this film?
No, it was very tough. I mean, like if today was the case, maybe I could have, or we could have a little bit do better, or maybe if not necessarily earn revenue, but like somehow find a break-even point, or have the digital right or satellite right for ourselves, or something like that. If it was now, but it was released in 3-4 years back theatrically, and it was not the right time for Nepal to have the number of theaters were not too many, and then the multiplexes were less. And even so, there was Bollywood or Hollywood films that would grip the major number of screens. And the Ankala was released with 3 shows in a multiplex, major multiplex.
Okay.
So there was no chance that we can actually recover the kind of investment, whatever it is. And yeah, as for the festivals or the recognition, it has that it made its own legacy in terms of very few Nepalese films that actually travel to festivals and then earn that prestige. But as for the commercial aspect, maybe now things are changing, and then if we had made it now, maybe we could have even earned a little bit, now if not much.
How,
But back then, it's a
how has been people's reaction who saw this film in Nepal when it was released commercially and even in the festivals? How have been viewers' response? You have to say.
So basically, if for the right target audience, because I personally wanted to market the film on the shoulder of brother and Sejana only, because other two, Shaugat and Arpan, were already huge stars in Nepal. So it was never my intention to market them so that the audience will come and watch the film and then start to, like what do you say, cursing us. Like, what did you show us? Because the kind of movies they have been playing is a different genre, and then their fans would come and watch and then react differently. So the whole idea was try to sell the brother and sisters, this siblinghood, and which worked to some extent. But then at some screenings, which I personally witnessed, was like a couple of audiences who came and then who completely shocked. What the heck is this? This is not even a film. This is a video, or this is a documentary. And then at the same time, like the 90% or even 95% of the the audience reaction, which is still available in YouTube's, are like people are crying, and like there were a lot of
Yes.
people that watching next to me were like actually making noises visually or like audibly, not just like sobbing silently. So yeah, those are these two longitudinal experience that I had with the audience. But majority of the audience still recall it for its emotional content, and then minimalist idea, I guess, to some extent, because movie making is such a expensive medium, especially with a whole bunch of crews involved and then technology involved. But then what we did was like very minimalist approach, but at the same time we I think, to my belief, engrip the audience throughout the film, not let them diverse into some other zone or start uh, running into Instagram or Facebook while watching the film. Not to That didn't happen much, I guess. So that is it.
So, does star system impact in Nepal also, apart from Bollywood or Hollywood, in Nepalese film industry also, is it dominated by star system, or people can watch a film depending upon its content?
No, I don't think like we have that much of a star system like what Bollywood does, even Hollywood. I mean, Bollywood is even bigger when it comes to stardom, and then the kind of movies that releases, and then the impact it creates in box office, or even in the distribution system. It has a huge impact. But in Nepal, we don't have that sort of impact. I mean, it does. There are plenty of stars, very handful of stars who has that impact. But at the same time, because we don't have that huge distribution channel, we don't have that huge of industry where the return is like massive. So yeah, that could be the one reason that we don't have that level of stardom impact industry, but it does. There is. And the reason that why our firm was just given three screens, three shows in the first week was because we didn't promote it the main stars, like the two major stars, and just brother and sister, and nobody knew it. And the distributors or the chain owners of the multiplex, just give them a two or three screens. Let's see how it runs. And then the second week, the screens got added because it was on the mouth publicity and on the shoulders on the basis of the performances or the reviews that we got on the daily.
Did you try to sell it through international agents to other territories in the world?
We did actually. The firm still the copyright has for 12 years. There is a company called Adler and Associates in Los Angeles. So we didn't know much of the. We don't have those lawyers to check through the contracts in Nepal. So they approached us. There were two or three distributors, one from Florida, one from LA, from USC itself. So they pitched us, and then somehow we find their contract was amazing. I mean, they were giving us the minimum guarantee of $40,000, and then there was like 200 up to $200,000 within 12 years of span, and there was a bunch of like 27-page contracts, and we sold it. I mean, it's still in Amazon. I think they are earning bits and pieces. I think
Okay,
we
okay.
haven't got a penny yet. But the deal was they were supposed to release the film in US, Canada, Australia, and UK at least 200 screens.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
was like the theatrical release. As an art house firm, or it's their take, but then they were supposed to release that film, and that was the contract initially. But later on we send them the copy with subtitle, without subtitle, with all those fixes, the master copies, and then it got lost in translation, I guess.
Oh,
And I was not a basically producer, so I was always on those two rough patch between producer and then those distributor, and I had to organize everything, and then it is really tough.
what is the next project you are planning after Time Candle?
So I think that's something I would talk to you especially sometime, and then
Okay.
I might send you a script soon. It is under development, but it has that two or three that's under development. Is one is of civil war, which I'm very very close to. Nepal has 11 years long civil war, and then it's about a friendship between a Maoist terrorist and an army who is supposed to
Yes.
take it into custody. And it's a beautiful film. Maybe rough inspiration would be somehow from that No Man's Land, but not in that territory. So it doesn't have that sort of violence, or it ends with that catastrophic thing. But then the whole idea is that two different beliefs, both are fighting for their country, fighting for their society, fighting for their people, and it losing every game. Both are losing. So that would be somehow maybe meaningful, especially when we are already like 10 or more years gone after civil war, and then things haven't changed. It's still the same. So
Very interesting.
what did we do? I mean, like, where did it all go? All those fights, all those losses, all those people who were victimized, and then where did it go? It's just like not the political firm, but then their friendship will budding into something that will just ask the questions. you know they did their part. Now it was supposed to be ours, or our political part, or something. But where did we go wrong? What was it for ultimately the 11 years? So that was the one I've been developing. And the other one, which is I think would go on floor before that, is pretty much done with the first step, and hopefully will kick off. But that's again a little bit of rough adaptation of some American play that has been done by India as well twice.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll speak to you in person. So, but it's not the same thing. It's a whole different. But then the idea is there, and it could be very powerful film if I have to say. But let's see. So it's like
So,
so.
huh.
How about you?
Well, see, I'm trying to create this platform, to connect South Asian filmmakers from across all South Asian countries. And if they can join hands and collaborate and do joint productions, I think it will benefit our film industry as whole in South Asia, across countries. So,
Yeah.
what do you think about this initiative?
No, it's great. It's amazing. I've been speaking with some Nepalese film makers, and then this film festival organizer as well.
Hmm.
There is one or two good ones, and I was asking them to be in touch with you. Or like I can introduce basically over social media, and then for festivals here in Nepal, they can invite you, or like your team, at least a couple of people. And the last time they invite. Uh, Prakash Jha was here, and there was Netflix people from US, some studio people from US. So we had this huge discussion forums. But then at the same time, it was way large from Nepal, to my knowledge at that time. I mean, like, it's good to have knowledge, but then the knowledge has to be applicable at some point for the target, filmmakers, or like the upcoming generation of storytellers. So
Right.
knowing about something great, it's good. I mean, like, we can always do that. It's not lost. But then the initiative that the small festivals we're doing, it's good if the knowledge that we're sharing is applicable to some extent right away, so that they can go home and then okay, let me do this, or let me do that, for whatever resources I have. Let's just focus on telling a story rather than focusing on the what kind of tools I'm using. Just like if I'm writing a novel, I don't prefer a Parker pen or something. I can write with a small dot pen, or like cello pen. It doesn't matter. It's what I write that changes the whole narrative, not like what sort of pen I'm using that will change the narrative. So that sort of things. And maybe I've given your name, and then maybe it has to be cross-cut. And I personally hope that if this things goes on, the kind of initiative you're taking, and Nepal would see more numbers of those kind of funds
Right.
coming. As long as the mainstream is always there, it won't die at all. It will never die because it's there. It will be there always. But then the kind of stories we want to tell, the kind of stories a lot of other people, storytellers, want to tell, but couldn't tell because we don't have those kind of connections or resources.
Right.
Or a belief system itself. So that can be changed, and it is a really huge initiative that you're taking.
And I see there are such beautiful locations in Nepal. And many Bollywood films used to get shot in Nepal in 60s, 70s, in those eras, 60s and 70s. But of late, I have seen after 90s, very few Indian films are going to Nepal to shoot. I don't know what has happened, what was the reason. Maybe after downfall of royalty in Nepal, and because of the disturbances there, people didn't prefer to go to Nepal. But we can revive that tradition. We can create Nepal as a interesting, because Indian filmmakers go to Europe and many countries to shoot their film. Why can't they go to Nepal also? So we can create that kind of culture again.
Yeah, I mean, there has been very good culture back in time. I mean, like there were a lot of films that have been shot since 70s when, Amitabh Bachchan was here, and then Dev Anand Saab, and then, a whole bunch.
Yes.
And recent one was, I think the big one was Baby with Akshay Kumar and it. And in Pakistan, I spoke to Vishal sir, and he was planning that film in Nepal with Ifran sir, and then, Deepika Padukone, about lockdown that happened in Nepal.
Who did you speak?
Vishal Bhardwaj sir.
Yeah, Vishal ji, okay. Yeah,
it was locked film, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole intention was to shoot in Nepal. And there were a couple of other films with Arjun Kapoor, recent one come in Nepal, shot in Pokhara and other parts of Nepal. There is few, but then as you said, the political thing was always going to be back in the head, especially when, things go, with cross-border thing. And we are similar in culture and language and a whole bunch of things. So it's always there. It's easy. And as you said, we have so much of a diverse locations, like panoramic views, and as a storyteller, a lot of filmmakers can catch it. And there's South films, and then there is this, especially there's the film industry in Bihar, and then those
Bhojpuri film industry.
Yeah, they come a lot, I guess.
Maithili, Bhojpuri.
Yes. Yeah. And then the South Indian too. I've seen quite few. I've met them on locations. So, and then the Indian films mainstream as well. But then one thing is not like it's because of the political or any other scenario. It's also because like Nepal is not equipped to some extent. Maybe a whole bunch of logistics, or maybe that's my case. I'm not quite sure if that's the only case. But then it has to fit the bill.
So there should be proper equipment, post-production facilities in Nepal itself, so that filmmakers can come there and shoot, and they get a full package at one place.
True.
So my idea is to create the South Asian community where filmmakers from all South Asian countries can collaborate. So it will help creative industry in all across South Asian countries, and creative people will get more opportunity to make their films. That is the idea with this initiative which I have taken.
Mm-hmm.
In that process, you went with me to Pakistan also. We did a festival there. Yeah. And I think this festival can be replicated in Kathmandu also on a bigger scale, not on a smaller scale. If we create a little bigger festival in Kathmandu, it will attract filmmakers from other places also to come there.
No, that can be done, especially, maybe once this COVID thing is over, maybe we can sit and talk. I was intending to come to Mumbai again. The last time I was there, I met Anjum sir as well, speaking on a whole bunch of things. And I was pitching him a lot of screenplays that I had. He's always delighted to talk. Yeah. Okay. And maybe, or I can invite you if that festival is coming soon. I'm not quite sure when it is. So then we can discuss it and then plan it accordingly. Depends, like, what sort of funding we get in here with the locals or the brands or whatever. Anyway, because you already have a festival and you already have selected funds, so that we don't need to go through the process again. that hiring the team of juries and then hiring the
Right.
screeners and everything. It's just like, traveling the same film festival to
Yes.
another
Yes.
venue.
Exactly.
So that would be really good. That would be really good.
I think it's time to screen your film, Dying Candle, because we should start screening. So I'll request you to present your film to public, what is it is about, and then we'll start the screening.
Yeah, I think you better do that. I'm very poor with announcing anything. So all I can say is, like, watch and give me a feedback, and I'll try to take it to my
And
head.
I hope after the screening you'll come again for a short Q&A.
I will. So it will be around 7 or something. To my knowledge, I will
Yes.
try to be around. I can promise. I had to go and meet somebody.
Okay, I will talk to you if you are
Yeah.
available.
If I'm around, I would be love to be there. I mean, I would love to take any Q&As, or
Okay.
like just watch their experience.
Okay, so friends, ladies and gentlemen, let us start watching the film Dying Candle from Nepal, directed by Naresh Kumar KC. It's a very beautiful film, very intense film. Please sit quietly and watch it. If you want to experience something in your life, it's not just a film you are watching, you are experiencing something. So if you want to experience an art, then give it some time and watch it.